Hey guys, welcome to a weekly question video. If you want to leave us a question, details on how to do that is down below, as well as a link to our Patreon if you want to get bonus content and support the channel. Patreon is the place to do that, so definitely check it out if you are interested. So this week, I had somebody ask me, does discipline kind of ruin the fun of spanking? Do you still use spanking for fun? Because we've mentioned in past podcasts that Coda and I did use spanking for fun in our relationship. Actually, I don't know if we have ever mentioned that on the public side of the podcast. It's definitely something that we've mentioned over on Patreon and in our Discord server that is for Patreon members. And so we have used spanking for fun in the past, and that's kind of how we got started with spanking in our relationship. But what we have realized, and definitely what I have realized, is that over time, as we have grown in our domestic discipline, as we have developed our rules and structures and our discipline system to what it is now, I never wanted to use spanking for fun. I really never did. What I was really craving was discipline. And what I really needed in my relationship was discipline. It wasn't that fun spanking. And so for us, as we have grown in discipline, the desire and the participation in using spanking for fun has just completely gone away. Again, because what I really needed when I was asking for that, what I really needed was discipline. But I wasn't at a point where I felt like I could ask for discipline and have that be well received, have that be something that my husband would be willing to talk about or incorporate into our relationship. And so the idea of bringing in spanking as something that we could enjoy and have as something fun in our relationship, that felt like a safer introduction. And I think that a lot of people do find that as kind of a safe way to ask for spanking and ask for that need to be met. But eventually it got to a point where I needed more from spanking. I needed more from that part of our relationship. I really did need the structure and the rules and the discipline. I needed that accountability. And when you use spanking for fun, there's no accountability there. You might role play as part of that. We never did, but a lot of people do. But it's not real accountability and it's not real discipline. And so when I finally brought that idea up to Coda, where I was like, I need actual discipline in my life and I need this accountability structure and I really need your leadership. And I feel like this is a good way for you to kind of have that leadership and have that authority and offer accountability. He was finally ready to receive that, embrace it, and see that it could be a very beneficial part of our relationship. And so he said yes. Obviously, we're here. We wouldn't be here if he would have said that he was not willing to do this. So, spoiler alert, he said yes. But once he was able to kind of embrace that role and understand what it really meant to be a head of household, understand what it meant to be a disciplinarian, to really discipline me as his wife, I found that I didn't need spanking to be a fun or enjoyable activity because I was having that need for discipline met. Now, that's not to say that there aren't couples out there that incorporate discipline and fun spanking into their relationship and still have both of those elements very present in their relationship. I've known couples that are like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for me personally, I never had a need for fun, enjoyable, playful spanking. I really had a need for discipline. And I didn't understand at the time that that's what I really needed. But even when we were doing spanking as like a fun activity, I remember trying to like tamper my reaction to the sensation so that Coda would go harder, so that it would feel more like discipline. I now realize that there is no way that you can tamper your reaction enough to make it look like you're enjoying it if it's actual discipline. Like, that's just not compatible at all. But at the time, I was really trying to make it look like I was enjoying it, but in a way where he would kind of go further and take it just a little bit harder each time, so that it would feel more like discipline and less like, fun. And what I realized over time was I just needed to ask that question, because there was no way that he was going to know that I actually needed that structure and that discipline and that accountability unless I asked for it. And once I asked for it, and once he really embraced it, and once we grew in our discipline structure enough to where punishments started to feel like punishments, accountability felt like accountability, and the consistency was there. Once all of those things came together, it was like we never really talked about it, but we just never really gravitated towards spanking for fun once those discipline needs were being met. It wasn't like I said, it wasn't something that we like talked about. It wasn't something that we, came to terms with and had a discussion and had a negotiation over. It was just something that once discipline was consistent and effective and intense enough to be a true deterrent, once all of those discipline needs were being met, and once we were in a flow of our relationship where things were going really, really well with our discipline, we just didn't need to include spanking for fun anymore. And it's something that I stopped asking for. It's something that he stopped kind of offering, because I think that we both had this idea that we would always include both, because we started with spanking for fun and we thought that that's what we really liked. But as we grew in our relationship, we realized that spanking has a place in our relationship, and it always will, but it's in discipline. It's not in the fun side of spanking. And like I said, there are couples that incorporate both. There are couples that only do fun spanking and they don't do the discipline side. And all of that is very valid, but this is just our experience, that once we really embraced what we really needed from spanking, it became very, very clear that that was not going to include spanking for fun, that spanking really is just for discipline in our relationship. It's not something that either one of us gets any type of erotic fulfillment from. It is very much for purpose, and that purpose is to maintain structure, to maintain the mindsets of authority and submission. And it really is just to help our relationship grow in the ways that we want it to grow, to meet our goals, and so that we can continue down the path towards the future that we want to see in our relationship. And so that is the role of spanking for us. And that's the only role that spanking holds for us. And that is what we have found to be right for our relationship. So hope that kind of answers that question, gives a little bit of perspective on our experience. And again, if you want to ask us a question, leave it down below. Let me know what you think of this video, and we will talk to you guys next time.